The Nicopol Crusade, Part 1. The Christian monarchs of Western Europe had every reason to be afraid. The Ottomans were nearly unstoppable. They established a foothold in Bulgaria and were threatening Hungary. They blockaded Constantinople, trapping the Byzantines in their own city, rendering them nearly useless. And they defeated the Serbian alliance at the Battle of Kosovo. The Battle of Kosovo had been the best chance for the local Christians to stop the Ottomans. That Prince Lazar convinced so many groups to set aside their differences and unite against the Ottomans was an accomplishment of its own. However, there was just too much bad blood between the Catholics and the Orthodox for them to remain united. The Ottomans were nearly unstoppable, but they were not entirely unstoppable. They did lose some key battles that stalled their steady progress, and they were not yet able to penetrate into Bosnia. But in the grand scheme of things, Bosnia was not very important to the Ottomans. They were more concerned with the major Balkan states such as Hungary and Serbia. And now that Serbia had been humbled at the Battle of Kosovo, Hungary became the biggest threat to the Ottomans. After his death, Murad's son, Bayezid, became the new Ottoman Sultan. He used Serbia, which was now his vassal, as a buffer against the Hungarians. Hungary had emerged as one of the strongest local powers and at one point had ruled over Croatia, Dalmatia, and parts of Serbia. Hungary claimed rule over Bosnia as well, but this claim was nominal at best and Bosnia generally ignored it. And since the Serbs were Orthodox and the Hungarians were Catholic, Sultan Bayezid knew it was unlikely they'd unite against him. Bayezid took 3 years after the Battle of Kosovo to strengthen his position in the Balkans and eliminate his rivals. Once that was done, he began assembling one of the biggest armies the Balkans had ever seen. King Sigismund was the King of Hungary, the King of Germany, the King of Italy, the King of Bohemia, and the Holy Roman Emperor, though he was neither holy nor Roman. But he was afraid. He was afraid of the Ottomans who just kept pushing deeper and deeper into Europe. The Serbian alliance at the Battle of Kosovo did not stop the Ottomans. Now, it was up to King Sigismund to figure something out. In 1392, he sent ambassadors west to plead for help from the European kingdoms. Around the same time, the Byzantine Emperor Manuel II had come to the same conclusion. In 1395, he also sent ambassadors seeking support from the Catholics in the West. The Ottomans had bullied the Byzantines into becoming their vassals, but now the Byzantines and the Hungarians signed a joint crusading alliance in February 1396. And when he received favorable responses from Genoa and France, Emperor Manuel felt bold enough to declare his independence. And the Ottomans promptly put him under siege. Meanwhile, the Hungarian ambassadors returned with promises of support from France, Venice, England, and several Germanic kingdoms. In addition to the Christian monarchs, the Knights Hospitallers, the Teutonic Knights of Prussia, and even 2 rival popes all promised to come together and fight the Ottomans. Interestingly, even though the Venetians agreed to this new crusade, they secretly tried to negotiate a peace deal between the parties. The Venetians understood that war was bad for business. Ottoman preparations. The Ottomans had several competent, experienced warriors at their disposal for the upcoming crusade. One of their best commanders was a man named Gazi Evrenos Bey. Possibly of Greek or Byzantine origin, his family had allied with a Turkish beylik in the early 1300s. The family accepted Islam, and Gazi Evrenos joined the Ottoman military. He soon made a name for himself, becoming one of the most successful Ottoman commanders of the 1350s. Gazi Evrenos served under 5 different sultans during his long and illustrious career. He fought in most of the major battles in both Anatolia and the Balkans. He soon became an ukbey, leading the Ottoman push westwards into Macedonia and Greece. An ukbey was a special class of warrior in the early Ottoman period who ruled over a specific territory with little oversight from the Sultan. Besides being a great warrior, Gazi Evrenos was also a pious Muslim. During his lifetime, he built several mosques, Islamic schools, boarding houses for the poor, Sufi lodges, and public baths. Another famous warrior was Ali Pasha Kendarli Zaid, who was also an Islamic scholar. His father had been a qadi, or judge, while his mother was the daughter of a qadi. Likewise, Ali Pasha Kendarli had also served as a qadi for a time. Ali Pasha Kendarli's military career was not as spectacular as Gazi Evrenos, but he still had several battlefield successes under his belt. He had commanded Ottoman troops in the Balkans, Anatolia, and during the Battle of Kosovo in 1389. Historically speaking, however, Ali Pasha Kendarli is more known for his Islamic works than his military career. When Sultan Bayezid learned about the upcoming crusade, he began educating himself on Western European battle tactics and techniques. The Muslims of the Middle East had been studying European fighting styles since the First Crusade in 1099. There were entire volumes available in Syria and Egypt for the Ottomans to utilize. Sultan Bayezid also maintained a vibrant intelligence network throughout Christian-controlled Romania and Hungary. As the Crusaders began arriving in the spring and summer of 1396, he remained well informed of their movements and positions. The Crusaders arrive. Meanwhile, the Crusaders could not seem to agree on a plan. King Sigismund of Hungary wanted to focus on Bulgaria and stop the Ottoman advance into the Balkans. However, it is not clear if he communicated his desire with the other European factions. The European nobles from France and Burgundy became the de facto leaders of the crusade. Burgundy is currently a district in eastern France, but at the time it was an independent kingdom. The Hungarians also disagreed with the French and Burgundians on the best plan of attack. King Sigismund wanted to march through the Carpathian Mountains of Romania. This would force the rulers of Transylvania and Wallachia to join the crusade. However, the French and the Burgundians were worried about getting bogged down in the mountains. They preferred to use the Danube River as the fastest mode of transportation. The Western Europeans also had a fleet of ships stationed in the Black Sea. The Danube River connected to the Black Sea, so these ships were available to provide additional support. Ultimately, the Western Europeans used the river while the Hungarians went through the mountains. The Crusaders agreed to meet up at Nicopol, a town on the Danube River in northern Bulgaria. When Bayezid's spies informed him of these plans, he ordered the Ottoman garrison at Nicopol to fight to the last man. Meanwhile, he began preparing for the arrival of the Crusaders. 70 ships full of Crusaders sailed east on the Danube River from Vienna to Budapest, Hungary. By July 1396, the main body of the Crusader army had arrived in Hungary. The Crusader forces totaled about 16,000 troops, while the Ottoman forces, including their vassals, were somewhere between 10 to 15,000. The first point of contact came at Vidin in northwestern Bulgaria. The Christian ruler of this town was an Ottoman vassal, but he offered no resistance to the Crusaders. Perhaps he did not have the strength to fight them, or perhaps he did not want to die for the Ottomans. Whatever his intention, the Crusaders made quick work of the Ottoman garrison, slaughtering them to a man. The Crusaders continued east before coming to the town of Oryahovo in North Bulgaria. Unlike Vidin, Oryahovo was not a vassal, but directly ruled by the Ottomans. Hence, it had a much stronger garrison and better defenses. The Ottoman garrison at Oryahovo fended off multiple attacks from the Crusaders. However, The main Hungarian force soon arrived and joined up with the Franco-Burgundians. This gave the Crusaders a decided advantage. The Ottoman garrison offered to surrender, but the Crusaders rejected it. With their superior numbers, the Crusaders overwhelmed the garrison, scaled the walls, and entered the city. The result was a massacre. The Crusaders killed nearly the entire town, Muslim and Christian, women and children. They did spare some of the wealthier nobility of the town, taking many of them hostage in the hopes of large ransoms. The Crusader army continued east, where they finally met up with the Crusader fleet at Nicopol in September 1396. The Crusaders immediately launched a blistering attack against Nicopol. The Crusaders did not have effective siege machinery, so they were forced to attempt scaling and mining the walls. Their ships guarded the river, on the lookout for Ottoman reinforcements. Nicopol's garrison was commanded by an experienced Ottoman warrior named Dogan Bey. He had heard about what the Crusaders did at Vidin and Oryahovo and was determined to fight to the death. The strong Ottoman defense convinced the Crusaders they were not going to take Nicopol by force, so they decided to put the city under siege and starve it to death. The siege lasted for about 14 days. During this time, animosity took hold within the Crusader ranks. Many of the Crusader troops were from Wallachia or Constantinople and were Orthodox Christians. They bristled at the mistreatment of local Orthodox by the Western Catholics. This also turned the local Orthodox civilians against the Crusaders. The Christian townsfolk secretly provided the Ottoman garrison with food and intel on the Crusader movements. Sultan Bayezid's response. Sultan Bayezid's spies also kept him informed of the Crusader movements. While the Crusaders were still in Hungary, he put Constantinople under siege as punishment for Emperor Manuel's rebellion. Ottoman sultans at this time were expected to accompany their soldiers into battle. Hence, Sultan Bayezid was on location with the strongest part of his army during the siege. When he learned the Crusaders had crossed the Danube River into Ottoman territory, he lifted the siege and headed north for Bulgaria. Crusader ships blockaded the Dardanelles, so there was no way to bring in more troops from Anatolia. This is where Bayezid's intelligence network paid off. By the time the Crusader fleet had arrived at the Dardanelles, Ghazi Evrenos had already crossed over with thousands of troops and was on his way to join the Sultan. Bayezid also sent word to his Serb vassals under the command of Prince Stefan Lazarevic. The Sultan ordered all of his available troops to meet first at Edirne in Thrace and then at Plovdiv in south-central Bulgaria. He wanted to organize this large army to ensure a coordinated battle against the Crusaders. With his defensive plans put together, Sultan Bayezid led the army towards Nicopol. In the next episode, we will continue our discussion on the Nicopol Crusade.